This live SLU show is brought to you by the support of SLU members and the following sponsors. Visit SLU.com to become a member today.
As eggs, well, at least one egg, nearly 1,000 feet into the air and returns to the Earth unbroken in under a minute. They beat hundreds of other teams to take first place in the America and International Rocketry Challenges. We are very proud of you, gentlemen and ladies. Great job. From the time she was young, Phoebe Kinzelman spent nights like tonight on her grandfather's driveway staring at the stars through his telescope. She spent a summer at space camp at NASA's Johnson Space Center, and her dream is to become an astronaut. I think she speaks for many of us when she says that one of her favorite Instagram accounts is Scott Kelly's. Space is a humbling thing, Phoebe says. You can't get too eager to rule the entire universe, but Phoebe's on her way. Where's Phoebe? Stand up, Phoebe, so everybody can give you a big round of applause. And where's Prodnov? Because I was talking about him and I didn't. There you go. Give Prodnov a big round of applause. So these are examples of the extraordinary young people that we have here today. Phoebe's given pretty wise advice for a 17-year-old. Young people like Phoebe should encourage all of us to help our young people set their sights as high as they want. We need teachers to light a spark of curiosity in young minds, and we've got some outstanding teachers here today. We need parents to leave encyclopedias of famous scientists lying around the house or help turn a bedroom into an ideas laboratory. We need to inspire more young people to ask about the stars and begin that lifetime quest to become the next great scientist or inventor or engineer or astronaut. And we have to watch for and cultivate and encourage those glimmers of curiosity and possibility, not suppress them, not squelch them, because not only are the young people's futures at stake, but our own is at stake. That's one of the reasons that my administration's worked so hard to encourage kids to enter STEM fields, especially young women who are too often underrepresented in these fields. We're We are halfway to my goal of training 100,000 new STEM teachers by the end of the decade. We're on track to connect 99% of our students to high-speed internet before the end of the decade. And over the past 6 years, our Educate to Innovate campaign has raised $1 billion to support STEM programs nationwide, including 80 other astronomy nights happening right now all across the country. So tonight I'm proud to announce new commitments by cities and organizations all over the country to expose even more students and their parents to STEM education. Bayer is launching a national effort to help 100,000 American parents and children work on science and engineering projects together. More than 300 foundations, museums, libraries, and schools across the country are partnering to bring hands-on science programming to students who don't have it. 8 observatories in Hawaii will offer all the residents of that state free guided tours. They didn't do that when I was in high school. Wish we had thought that up earlier. But these are just a few examples of the work that's being done all across the country, and I hope that more are going to follow the leads of these outstanding organizations, because that's how we're going to make sure our next generation of explorers take us even farther than we're going today. You know, a few hours ago I got a chance to talk to the astronauts up on the International Space Station, where Scott Kelly is living for an entire year. Last month, NASA found water flowing on Mars. Earlier this year, we mapped Pluto in high resolution. In recent years, we've discovered the first Earth-sized planet orbiting a star in a distant galaxy. and we've even slipped the outermost grasp of our solar system with Voyager 1, the first human-made object to venture into interstellar space. In 2017, with the help of American space companies, our astronauts will once again launch to space directly from American soil. And today, NASA is developing the capabilities to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. That means that some of the young people who are here tonight might be working on that project. Some of you might be on your way to Mars. America can do anything. We just got to keep on encouraging every new generation to explore and invent and create and discover. We got to keep encouraging some young kid in Brooklyn or a budding rocket scientist.
Hi, this is SLU. I'm Bob Berman. We've been listening to the President of the United States because this is White House Astronomy Night. You probably already gathered that, and we're doing our part because SLU is a official White House Astronomy Night event. That's right, we're an event, and we always have events because whenever anything is happening in space that's worthy of attention, and it often is. Eclipses, meteor showers, a close visit by a comet or an asteroid, close visits by various planets. We're there, we and our feed partners, to bring it to you globally, worldwide, sometimes millions of people at a time. Get on board here at SLU. And if the weather is cloudy where you are, that's no problem because our giant telescopes are always watching the heavens. Actually, tonight, maybe not so much because it's raining in the Canary Islands. Rarely does it, but it is tonight. We're going to bring you some live feeds of an exoplanet transit. No matter. We've got enough feed partners that we're still going to bring you some very cool live things and some special guests as well. We have from really all over the world. We also have, we're going to be talking to Tamara Hudgens of Girl Scout, and there the theme is how to keep girls interested in the sciences and what parents can do to help keep the spark alive for their kids, even when they may not be particularly interested in science, how to light that fire and keep it going. So we're going to be doing that. And speaking of kids, they're going to be the stars here tonight. We'll have a group. This is live. Everything on SLU is live. So we're going to have a group in real time from the Washington Montessori School right here to tell us all about their favorite celestial objects while we look at them through the giant SLU telescopes in real time. And we'll also be presenting a brand new educational initiative called SLU Classroom. In the meantime, we've got feed partners from 4 countries and here in the United States, New York, Canada, the UK, thanks to our global network. So even when we've got bad weather in some places, you know it's going to be clear in others, and it's a big planet Earth. So we'll also be rolling out a new feature for SLU members called SLU Camera. Now, this is going to let all members instantly acquire images from any of our SLU partners, capturing the images, and you can send them on to your friends via social network or keep them for yourself and make them into a screensaver. So it's really cool stuff. So to kick this thing off, I'm going to first bring a British astronomer, you know, one of our favorite people and often SLU host, and this is Will Gator in the British Isles.
Hey, Bob.
Where it's probably cloudy. It often is there. Is it tonight?
It is, unfortunately. I had a nice glimpse of the moon actually earlier, just as I was having my tea, but unfortunately it's clouded in there.
Yeah, very cool. And as we continue watching the president live, looking through a telescope, not anywhere near as our big SLU telescopes, of course, but you know he's got to use whatever he can get there. It'd be nice to bring him on board as a SLU member. I'll bet he would love using our giant SLU instruments. What got you started in astronomy, Will?
Gosh, I think a whole host of things, really. I think over time there was sort of, you know, various different crossroads I approached, and it just ended up going more and more towards astronomy. So I remember very distinctly, actually, being a Cub Scout, and we used to do night hikes. And I remember seeing on a particularly beautiful clear night one night, and seeing the summer Milky Way as we were walking on one of these night hikes, and that was particularly just mind blowing. I can really remember it stuck in my mind. You know, as this incredible view, and I wanted to find out more.
And now you're a professional astronomer and you teach it to other people. And wow, you know, I could ask you this question. This is our stock question. Why do you feel it's important to get kids interested in science in general and astronomy in particular? How would you answer that?
I think one of the things about astronomy is something I've realized the older I've got and as I've sort of grown up being an astronomer is that it's a subject that gives an incredible perspective on the world. And that might seem strange, you know, we talk about distant galaxies and stars and planets, but actually, when you start to realize your place in the universe, when you start to look at, you know, how the galaxy could be filled with potentially billions of Earth-like planets, you really start to get a perspective on your own life. And it really, if there's a sort of grounding experience, I think astronomy really is that. And at the same time, it also sort of makes you appreciate everything around you. You know, in some ways, the rarity of every single thing around you, whether it's your friends and family or, you know, just a beautiful view. When you look out into the night sky and think, well, maybe we could be the only ones, that really sort of brings it all home. So for me, that is one of the sort of most important things about astronomy. But why is it important to get children into astronomy? Well, I would guess it goes back to what the president was saying earlier in his speech is, you know, they are the future. We've got so many things, so many issues that the world needs to tackle, not just in space over the coming decades. And you know, astronomy is one of those ways into it, I think. I think people, especially young children, they're excited by planets, by galaxies, by rockets, you know, all those things. That sort of childlike wonder of astronomy is a real powerful tool, I think, for getting people interested in science and all those other important subjects.
Definitely. You know, we're looking at a live view from our Canary Islands main telescope. Conditions aren't great there, but in all the usage of, if somebody handed you the keys to a giant telescope, you know, and you were away from the lights of a city, you didn't have to struggle with what backyard amateur astronomers do, but you could use the great SLU telescopes. You've been with SLU long enough. What are your favorite things that we look at, that members look at? There's so many. There's such a variety. What particularly excites you that we see through the
Oh,
SLU telescopes?
well, yeah. I mean, of course, there are things like the beautiful nebulae, the glowing gas clouds that sort of litter the galaxy. But one of the things that I really love observing are globular clusters. So these clusters of stars. I think we had a live image of one 47 Tucanae just a few moments ago, and they're sort of balls of, in some cases, millions of stars that are sort of sit around the Milky Way, like these sort of swarm of bees that sit around our galaxy. And I find them, they're just both when you're trying to photograph them and also when you see them through a telescope with the eye, they are just the most beautiful objects. They sort of have this sort of granular, sparkling, spherical shape that you can really get a sense if you have a large enough telescope that you're looking at a ball of stars. So for me, they're magical. But then, of course, things like galaxies. I mean, to be able to look out on a clear night and see an object like, you know, we've got the Whirlpool galaxy there,
Yeah, look at
something that
this.
you can
Look at this. This is a SLU image of the Whirlpool galaxy. I mean,
isn't that
my
beautiful?
goodness. City of suns. We're talking about hundreds of billions of stars. Hey, this is actually two galaxies in near
Mm,
collision. They're in the act of collision, and materials being stretched from one to the other like taffy or like pizza
mm,
cheese. You know, like being slurped from one to the other. You got this weird galaxy on the top. It looks like it's embedded in a little bit of a corkscrew pattern of DNA. Impossible,
mm.
but it's almost what it looks like. And there is the arguably one of the most beautiful sights, a spiral galaxy. We live in something that looks just like that, a galaxy just like
Mm.
that. And you know, we actually have a group of students who are just as excited about science and space as we are. And this is a group of eighth graders from the Washington Montessori School in Washington, Connecticut. That's near our SLU Studios. So they're here to tell us all about their favorite celestial objects. And they've actually put together, I think, a couple of presentations for you, Will, that I think you'll enjoy. So let's go to them
I'm
now
looking forward to
and
this.
see what they've prepared. Hi there.
Hi, this is Carrie Jordan at Washington Montessori School. I'm just here with a group of 6 fabulous 8th graders tonight who are going to help me give you an introduction to, or a little sneak peek at SLU Classroom, which is a new SLU initiative that we are launching next month. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Nathaniel, Carter, and Logan.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel, and today we'll be talking to you about an awesome deep sky object called the Dumbbell Nebula. We're hoping to show you live footage from tonight, but due to weather issues, we have to use an image taken last week by the SLU telescopes. So what even is a nebula? Some of you watching may not know, and I didn't even know until the past couple of weeks. So a nebula is basically a giant colorful space cloud consisting mostly of dust and gases like hydrogen and helium. They're a result of dead or dying stars because when a star dies, it explodes and pushes out all this gas and dust into space, which creates the colors and shape of a nebula. All this dust and all this gas has the potential to collide with one another with so much force that it fuses together. This is what creates new stars and new planets, and for that reason, nebulae are sometimes referred to as stellar nurseries. Thanks for listening, and now I'll pass it on to Carter today, who'll get into more of the specifics about what you see behind me.
All right, thank you, Nathaniel. As you said, I'm Carter Day, and what we're looking at is a certain type of nebula called a planetary nebula. And so planetary nebulae get their name because when you look at them through telescopes, they appear as if they're similar to a giant gas planet, as you can see here. So scientists estimate that there are about 10,000 of these in all of space, but they've only been able to discover 1,500 of them. So just think, in all of space, there's still probably remaining 8,500 undiscovered giant gas clouds like this everywhere. And so something else interesting to think about is that 5 billion long years from now, our own sun will become a planetary nebula, which is kind of cool. So this specific nebula is the Dumbbell Nebula. It's the second largest nebula to ever be discovered, and was also the first one ever to be discovered in 1764 by a French astronomer named Charles Messier. And so, believe it or not, in 1764, when Messier found the Dumbbell Nebula, he saw what it looked like in the year 404 AD. This is because the Dumbbell Nebula is a stunning 1,360 light years away from Earth. And so, looking at it tonight, we see what the Dumbbell Nebula looked like in the year 655 AD. And in order to see what it looks like right now in 2015, we would have to look at it again in 3,375 AD. And so now Logan is going to explain why this is.
Hi, I'm Logan Klubakrak. So, as Carter said, the Dumbbell Nebula is 1,360 light years away. You probably know that that's really far, but what even is a light year? A light year is basically the distance that light travels in a year. I'm going to try to explain how far that is and put that distance into perspective for you. So the speed of light is 1,079,252,849 kilometers per hour, which is really, really fast. So if you multiply that by the 24 hours in a day, you get 25,959,353,337 kilometers per day. And then multiply that by the 365 and a quarter days in a year, and you get as I said earlier, a light year is the distance that light travels in a year, or 9,481,653,822,281 kilometers. When you multiply that by 1,360, you get that the Dumbbell Nebula is 12 quadrillion 895,049,000,000,000 kilometers away. I don't know about you, but I have a hard time thinking about just 1,000,000 kilometers. So this number is way too big to even imagine. To try to put that into perspective, if Earth was the size of a ping pong ball, the Dumbbell Nebula would still be 40,480,515.2 kilometers away. So, coming back to what Carter said about why we see the Dumbbell Nebula as it was in 655 AD, 1,360 light years means that it takes light 1,360 years to travel that distance. So, we see the Dumbbell Nebula as it was 1,360 years ago. Thanks so much for listening to our presentation, and now we're going to hand it back over to Bob in the studio.
Well, absolutely, wow. This is just amazing what these kids are doing. Now, this isn't just impressive. This is absolutely astounding, and you must love that, Will, because they're using your beloved kilometers. You know, here in America we use miles, so we think of light as 186,282.4 miles per second. But they're even going with this international unit of kilometers. What a great presentation! I mean, that was first class.
That was absolutely fantastic. I've been to a lot of astronomy conferences in my time, and that was easily one of the best presentations I've ever seen, guys. So really well done. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think those are kids. I think those are grown-ups that have maybe shrunk a little bit, or although not very much. This is really a grown-up presentation. My hat's off to you. And the object that you chose, the Dumbbell Nebula. Beautiful, bright planetary nebula and Vulpecula over our heads. You know, it's one of the objects that SLU members love pointing the telescopes to. I mean, Will, what do you think?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's a beautiful nebula and a fantastic one to observe in the summer. I've actually got some questions for you guys, of course, after your fantastic presentation. And you sort of mentioned it in your presentation, but I wanted to ask you whether you thought the Dumbbell Nebula, this distant object, is it a stable object? How much do you think it's changing?
That's a great question, Will. And the answer is that the Dumbbell Nebula isn't necessarily moving in one direction or another, but it's expanding, because when that white dwarf exploded and pushed out all those gases and dust into space, there, as you probably know, there's no opposing force in space to slow that down. So that is always expanding. And so it's actually moving so fast that it's expanding at 17 miles per second.
Wow. It's huge, isn't it? And it's extraordinary to think that that's the sort of speed, you know, that sort of speed that's actually moving, yet it looks static in the night sky. What do you think the nebula will eventually sort of become? What do you think? Do you think in, you know, a million years' time we look up at the nebula, will it still look like it is now?
Well, no, because as that keeps expanding, all that gas and dust will be so far spread out that you won't be able to see the colors of it anymore.
Fantastic. So I think, Bob, that's an argument to get out and observe the nebula at the next possible opportunity.
Yes, yeah, quite right. They typically live for 25,000 or 50,000 years before, just as he just said, they expand too much. And plus the inside star, the one that he said it's just like what our sun will be doing 5 billion years from now. That's so interesting, a little scary, a little spooky. But as we collapse to be the same kind of little white dwarf that is happening inside that, we will lack the energy to illuminate the nebula with ultraviolet or any other kind of energy. So yeah, for both those reasons, very short-lived kind of celestial object. I mean, Andromeda is going to be there till the cows come home. The Andromeda galaxy, or the Whirlpool galaxy that we just saw, come back in a few billion years and it's still there, but not the Dumbbell Nebula. So these kids have chosen a fascinating dynamic object for their presentation. And I think we have another group of students who have, we're going to give them a chance to present their own favorite object. I wonder what that one is. And I think their teacher is going to introduce that. This was really great. Let's just keep going. This is so great. And what a better occasion than here at SLU on the President's White House Astronomy Night. Just perfect.
Great. Well, thank you guys very much. These three kids did a great job of introducing one of the signature elements of the new SLU classroom program, which is kids teaching and inspiring kids to explore the sciences. So hats off. Nice work. You saw from the things that the kids showed you that all SLU classroom participants will have access to the SLU telescopes in both the Canary Islands and in Chile. Teachers and students will be able to choose whatever deep sky objects are most interesting to them to research and image. Using our mission interface, you'll be able to watch your own missions unfold live. You'll be able to watch the missions of others unfold live or take pictures of live missions. Also, if you schedule missions for after bedtime or after school hours, you'll be certain to get those images via email by the morning. There are unlimited number of things you can do with your research and images, but one option will be to create a live broadcast, just like these 3 students did tonight, in order to highlight your learning. Additionally, teachers in SLU classroom may decide to use SLU lesson plans in conjunction with their telescope reservations. SLU lesson plans are all aligned with Common Core math and next generation science standards, with the aim of kids being able to both learn new skills and practice old skills in both math and science within the context of astronomy. Right now, our lesson plans are aimed at 4th through 8th graders. Each age level has their own homepage on SLU Classroom. This is the 5th grade homepage. As you can see, the homepage lists the standards for both math and science that are covered by the lesson plans, as well as gives sort of a 1 or 2 sentence synopsis of each lesson. Teachers can download lessons, adapt them for their own use in their own classroom, or they can use them as is. Another lesson element of SLU Classroom that's not aligned directly with age groups are what we call activities for avid astronomers. And these are activities and lessons that are geared for extra project or kids who are particularly keen on involving science, technology, and creativity. One example is an activity that we've developed that leads kids through their own discovery of Pluto. In order to do that, they'll have to image Pluto on several nights and use software that we provide in order to align those images and create an animation. As you can see, the picture from the telescope of Pluto makes it awfully hard to tell which one of those white dots is actually Pluto. However, once kids play with their images and create their animation, it will become more apparent. If you look at this animation, see toward the center of the screen, if you can spot the 1 dot that's moving, hopefully you can, and that would be Pluto. The rest of the objects in the night sky, the stars, are staying stable while Pluto's moving. So this is just one example of an activity that's really fun for kids and combines a nice use of technology, science, and a little bit of art too within the classroom. An additional element of this SLU Classroom program is one that we're really excited about, which is our partnership with student space clubs in Nigeria. Through a relationship with the African Regional Center for Space Education and Technology, we're aiming to match each SLU classroom in the United States with a partner space club in Nigeria. Kids will be able to interact through a series of partner-based activities to hopefully learn more about astronomy and more about each other. The universe is one thing that's devoid of all political boundaries. The same moon that they see in the Nigerian sky is the one that we look at here in Connecticut. So focusing on commonalities and shared experiences will hopefully not only educate our students about astronomy, but also help to make the world a little bit of a smaller and more intimate place. We're really excited to launch SLU Classroom next month. We hope that all the teachers, students, and parents watching will visit us at slu.com and sign up for our beta testing. We're looking forward to peering into space with you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Eliza, Ella, and Isabel to present their work on the Andromeda Galaxy.
Hello, my name is Eliza. I have recently become interested in astronomy. I don't necessarily know that much about it as of right now, but I'm definitely looking forward to learn more. The image behind me is of the Andromeda Galaxy, which was taken through one of SLU's telescopes last week. Unfortunately, it is not from tonight due to bad weather. The Andromeda Galaxy was formed 5 to 9 million years ago as a result of a collision between many smaller galaxies. It is part of a cluster of galaxies called the Local Group, which consists of 30 galaxies in total. Andromeda is special to us because it is the closest galaxy to the Milky Way, our home. Andromeda is 260,000 light years in diameter, which basically means that it would take 260,000 years to get from one side of Andromeda to the other going at the speed of light. Another reason why Andromeda is so special is because of its massive size. You can actually see it from Earth with the naked eye, even though it's roughly 2.5 million light years away, which is very fascinating. Now I'm going to hand over the presentation to Ella.
Hello, my name is Ella Palucci. To follow up on what Eliza was saying, Andromeda is moving very fast towards our Milky Way galaxy at a speed of approximately 140,000 meters per second. So if you can imagine a meter stick like the one here, imagine something moving a distance of 140,000 of these every second. Even moving at this incredible speed, it will still take Andromeda roughly 4 billion years to merge with our Milky Way galaxy. The merge, however, will be extraordinary. If you are standing in Connecticut in 4 billion years, the night sky will look a lot like this photo behind me. Despite the fact that Andromeda is a lot bigger in size than the Milky Way has a much bigger mass. Andromeda's mass is roughly 400 billion solar masses. A solar mass is basically just the mass of a sun. So Andromeda's mass is 400 billion times bigger than the mass of the sun. If you think that's big, the Milky Way's mass is 600 billion solar masses. Now I'm going to hand the presentation over to Isabel, who's going to tell you more facts about Andromeda.
Hi, I'm Isabel Martin, and I'm going to tell you a few fun facts about the Andromeda Galaxy. It has over 1 trillion stars, while the Milky Way only has 100 billion. It has a star cluster in its heart and at least one massive black hole. As Eliza said earlier, you can see Andromeda with the naked eye. All you have to do is look up into the northern sky and you'll see it. It's surrounded by these constellations up here: Cepheus, Cassiopeia, Perseus, and Cetus. The galaxy is named after a Greek princess, and some of the surrounding constellations are named after people in her story. Andromeda is the daughter of Cepheus and Cassiopeia, the king and queen of Ethiopia. Cassiopeia claimed she and her daughter were more beautiful than the sea nymphs, also known as Nereids.
The Nereids felt insulted by this and complained to the god of the sea, Poseidon, who then threatened to send a flood and a sea monster to destroy the kingdom of Ethiopia. So Andromeda's father asked a local priest what to do. The priest said the only way to save Ethiopia was to chain Andromeda to a sea cliff. So then she was chained to a sea cliff to be devoured by the horrible creature. Perseus, the nephew of the king of the city of Argos, noticed her as he was sailing by and instantly fell in love with her. He promised to rescue Andromeda if her parents allowed him to marry her. Cassiopeia and Cepheus accepted. Perseus killed the monster with the head of Medusa. Then he and Andromeda got married and lived happily ever after. Thank you so much for watching tonight. We hope that our presentation has brought out an interest in the amazing universe and space around us. We hope that you bring your involvement in the night sky to your schools and encourage your peers to look up. Now we are going to go back to Bob in the studio.
Wow, that was so cool. And you picked the Andromeda Galaxy, I think everybody's favorite galaxy except for the Milky Way, and the only one that's heading straight toward us. And you said it's going to collide with us in 4 billion years. Is that really true? Do we have to worry about that? No, the kids seem to say, no, we don't have to worry about it. Are you worried about it? Well,
I don't think I'm just looking at my diary. I really don't think I'm going to be around in about 4 billion years, Bob. Actually, I just off the top of my head, I might be, out that day.
And I love the image that they showed also. They said that in about 4 billion years, when you looked up into the night sky over Connecticut, this is assuming that there's less light pollution than there is now, you'll see the Milky Way, and then right off the side of the Milky Way, there's a close-up Andromeda Galaxy. And you know what? That was accurate, because the real Andromeda Galaxy is only a mere 13 degrees off of the plane of the Milky Way. So the picture that they showed was even accurate. That's exactly where the Andromeda Galaxy will be. I so enjoyed that Girls, you did just a fabulous job with that. You have any questions for them, Will, about Andromeda? Give them a tough
Yeah,
one.
yeah. As Bob said, that was an absolutely brilliant presentation. Andromeda is just one of those incredible galaxies, and so wonderful that it's so close. But I was going to ask you whether you thought, or whether you know, whether we've discovered any signs of life in Andromeda, because of course in the Milky Way we're the only life that we know of. But what about Andromeda, our neighbor? Have we discovered anything in there?
Well, we haven't discovered any life on there, but there definitely is a possibility that there's life because in Andromeda, there could be a star like our sun that has a solar system, and in that solar system, there could be a planet like Earth. So there definitely is a possibility, but we don't know for certain because of our distance from Andromeda.
What do you
What a-
reckon? Do you think that there's life out there in Andromeda or the Milky Way?
Yes, definitely. I think there definitely is a possibility.
Have any of you seen the galaxy? You said it was visible with the naked eye. Have you tried to look for it yet?
No.
Oh, I definitely recommend that. If you can go out to a dark sky place, it's an absolute, as Bob was saying, it's a wonderful sight. You know, you see this little misty patch. So, fantastic presentation. It was absolutely wonderful. Really good. Really enjoyed that. Back to you, Bob.
It really, yes, it really was great. And you know what you mentioned, girls? One or more of you talked about how far away it is and said that it's 2.5 million light years away, so that light or even radio waves would take that long. So if we do find life in Andromeda and wanted to say hello to them and sent them a message, we'd say, "Hi, are you really there? You look like an Earth like planet. Anybody there?" And we'd have to wait for 2.5 million years before that message got there at the speed of light. And then if they answered right away, and we hope that they'd be polite enough to answer the day that they received it, why, it would be another 2.5 million years to hear the reply. Yeah, we're here. How are you? It's great to hear from you. That's 5 million years. That's a pretty slow conversation. You know, these days with text messaging and stuff like that, I don't know if you'd have the patience for a conversation where each part of the message would take 5 million round trip years to go back and forth. So, boy, you've given us a grand, difficult, amazing object to think about. Hey,
Mm.
that's such a great job that you did in your school, and we're really grateful to you on this night of President Obama's White House Astronomy Night. You've really added to it immeasurably. I love this, and I'm going to remember this always. So, thanks a lot, kids, for just a wonderful
Mm.
presentation.
Yeah, and you know what? We've asked you a lot of questions, guys, and we've watched your fantastic presentations. But do you have any questions for Bob or I?
Well, yes, I'm actually kind of interested in photography, and I checked out your website and saw how cool the photos were. So I was wondering what type of
Thanks.
equipment you used to take the photos.
Well, I use all sorts of things really. But actually, if you want to start out in astrophotography, you really don't need a sort of lot of equipment really. The main thing you need really is some means to keep the camera very still, because for basic photography, trying to get pictures of, say, constellations over a horizon, you need something like a tripod, or maybe a fence post to hold a camera still on. And if you can get your camera to open its shutter for a fairly long period of time, say 20 or 30 seconds, that will allow the camera to gather as much light as possible. And so build an image, build a picture of the night sky. And that's crucial because astrophotography is very different from daylight photography. You know, when you and I are taking pictures of, whatever we're eating, or landscapes, things like that, you need something to hold that camera still. So yeah, if you've got a tripod, use a tripod, and keep your camera, keep your shutter open, use long exposures, and you can get all sorts of different things. Things like DSLR cameras, which allow you to take star trails, so you can see the motion of the stars. So yeah, I use all sorts of equipment, but some of the most simplest equipment I often enjoy using the most, because it's really great fun.
Yeah, I
Do you have
was
any other
also
questions?
wondering, um, what would you say is the coolest thing you've ever taken a picture of? I mean, like Ella said, we saw on your website a lot of really interesting really amazing pictures. But what would, if you had to pick one?
Oh man, you really put me you really put me on the spot there. I think I think one of the most interesting things to photograph is the northern lights, the aurora borealis. That's one of the most challenging, and because you never really know where it's going to appear in the frame. And so you've got all those normal considerations when you're taking a nice picture, the composition, where the horizon is and where it's going to be. But with the aurora, that's one of the most sort of interesting thing. I also love taking pictures of the planets. I mean, on SLU, we've got fantastic telescopes that can take really close-up pictures of things like Saturn, and getting a good picture of the rings of Saturn, I think, is really rewarding, and that's something that SLU's telescopes can do as well as amateur telescopes. So, yeah. Have you got any other questions?
Well, I
think
think
so,
that was
no.
yes. Is there one more?
I don't think so now.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much. We've had I'd say, some brilliant presentations from the students at the Washington Montessori School in Washington, Connecticut, not too far from the SLU studio. So thank you so much. And thanks for their teacher, Carrie, for all her hard work with this. And I'm going to say good night to you, Will, as well, because thank you so much for being with us, Will. I know it's much later there in Britain, and good luck to you. The group,
Thanks, Bob.
nobody knows this at home, but his wife is expecting a baby any second now. So good luck with this.
Thanks,
And
Bob. It's always a
hey,
pleasure.
till next time, which will be soon, because we have some great SLU shows coming up that we're going to talk about in a minute. Well, we've already heard from a group of students who are obviously excited about space and science, and just did I'm going to remember that presentation always. It was fabulous. But how do you keep kids interested in science if they're not really into it, or if maybe the parents aren't super into it itself? So the answer to that is going to be tackled when our producer sits down with Tamara Hudgens. Now, she's the executive director of Girl Start. Girl Start. Let's find out. Let's go to that.
Well, it is a big night here at SLU as we celebrate White House Astronomy Night. My name is Trisha Ennis. I'm the producer here, coming to you from SLU HQ at our Smoky Hollow Studios in Washington Depot, Connecticut. Now, I'm really excited to be joined tonight by Tamara Hudgens, the executive director of Girl Start, which is an organization that works to get and keep girls interested in science, technology, engineering, and math, otherwise known as STEM. Tamara, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Now, I'm really excited about programs like Girl Start because you guys just do so many amazing things for girls who are interested in science, and I feel like there weren't enough programs like that when I was a kid. Now, in the last few years, we've seen this huge surge in the number of programs like Girl Start, whose aim is to get girls interested in STEM fields, but also keep them interested in STEM fields. Now, I'm wondering why you think these programs are so important to have.
Well, just like you, we believe that if all of us had had programs like this when we were young, we might be doing something else. We believe that girls really enjoy and love science, and they know that science can be for them. But maybe there are a few external factors that that are present in girls' lives that discourage them from seeing how STEM can be part of their world. And so what we here at Girl Start try to do is we try to inspire and, encourage girls to sustain their interest in STEM.
What do you think are like the biggest challenges that face young girls who are interested in science?
Well, I could say that maybe we could talk about a myriad of external forces. Maybe it's messaging on the part of a member of a school community. Maybe it's messaging that they're gaining from popular culture. Maybe it's messaging that they're gaining either, subtly or not so subtly from a family member or from a peer. And so we see that when we provide a nurturing space for girls, a safe space for girls to take risks, to explore, to try new things, that they see how STEM is absolutely relevant for them and that their voices can be heard through STEM, that they can be creative and curious and still be part of this amazing STEM world.
Now, the whole thought that science is like a boy thing, I think we all kind of experience that a lot, just sort of in passing. Do you see like any of the girls that come to your programs? Do they know that that's the message that they're getting, or are they just excited to be doing science?
I'd say they're primarily excited to be doing science. One of our goals is to get girls before it's too late. Hopefully, we don't meet too many girls that have it's crossed their mind that somehow STEM is not for them. But we do see a number of girls that do feel that they are being messaged to with regard to girls not having a place in STEM. I recall that we get it, in stereo here, but I recall reading one of the Girl Start After School pre-surveys, and a girl told us that she was excited about after school because there were no boys and because it was a safe space for her to explore and believe in herself. And she said, and and generally, when you see a scientist, it's a guy in a lab coat. And I really want to talk about this when I become, when in my inaugural address when I become president. And so we know that girls are internalizing these messages. At the same time, we hope that we're intervening before it's too late.
Do you find that there is actually like a time where you realize that it's too late? Like, is there an early point where we should be getting girls interested?
It's not just us, but many members of the education community believe that the fourth through eighth grade zone is a potential danger zone for girls. There is a change in self-awareness in development generally, and so it's at this time when um, one can say for self-efficacy reasons, for views about ability, girls have doubts, especially around the fourth grade. And those doubts can seem greater than the possibilities that also exist in the world for them. So we view this zone, this fourth through eighth grade zone, as the most vital to intervene our commitment to girls. So that's why, for example, in our Girl Start After School program, we meet a girl every week throughout the school year at her school community. We want her to know that we are there for her and we are interested in making sure that she knows that she has access to our programs on a regular basis. Likewise, with our Girl Start Summer Camp program, that's a 40-hour intensive week that can be life-changing. And so we really believe that if we invest in these years, the fourth through eighth grade years, we can get girls over that hurdle so that they'll be ready to take on more advanced STEM classes at high school.
So I guess my question would be, what is the most important thing that adults can do to make sure that the kids in our lives, especially girls, don't feel discouraged and actually want to pursue these dreams they have when they're maybe 6 or 7 and when they get to that fourth through eighth grade year?
Well, it's interesting to me that one of the easiest things that a parent can do is to not message to your child that math and science is hard. I find that I hear people everywhere will be talking to their child in a public space or in some other space, and a mom will say to her daughter, I've never been good at math. That is one easy thing that all parents everywhere can start doing right away. Put away that type of messaging because your daughter is internalizing it too. It doesn't mean that Just because you had trouble with math, she's going to have trouble with math. But if she hears that you have trouble with math, that might be her self perception as well. I think that's one super easy thing that everybody can do. Another is
sorry.
to realize that when you're talking about STEM, when you're talking about innovation, when you're talking about the types of things that are present in STEM, these things are everywhere. It's not like you need a science lab in order to have science in your life. Science is everywhere. The fact that your house is not falling down right now is because an engineer took care to make sure that it wouldn't. It's not an accident that airplanes are flying every day and they're working in absolute synchrony. There's no magic to the fact that we are talking on a fiber optic line made of glass that has light signals that are transmitting to make this video chat possible. That's another thing that parents can do, is to realize that science is everywhere. I think there's another thing too, and that is to not be intimidated by science. Maybe you're not a science person, maybe you're not a math person, but science is all about inquiry. And if you can take for a moment the kind of framework or mindset that, hey, we're going to explore something, we're going to learn something new. You don't have to be right for your kid to be wrong, and your kid doesn't have to be right for you to be wrong. You guys can go and explore something new, to learn something new. You know, try one of our December activities that's online or one of our hands-on blogs, and chances are what you do as a parent is going to look dramatically different from what your child does. And those are both right answers. And I think that it is hard for parents to take off the hat of, okay, right and you're wrong because I'm the adult and you're the kid. But if we can stop for a minute and enjoy the kind of inquisitive space of, hey, I have no idea what we're going to find, but let's go out into the front yard and dig a hole.
Very cool.
What
I
do we
love
find?
digging holes as a kid.
It really can be. And when you let go of that, then the rest of it's easy.
Yeah. Now, I guess in closing, just to sort of bring everything home, what are the biggest messages or lessons that you hope at Girl Star that girls take home after they participate in your activities? What's the biggest thing you hope they learn?
I hope that they learn that failure is okay. When you fail, you pick yourself back up and you redesign your activity. I hope that they walk away going, you know what? I was pretty good at that, and I can do that again, and I'd like to do that again. What I'd also like them to do in walking away from Girl Start is to realize that there's a great amount of creativity and a great deal of personal voice and personal framework that is really involved in STEM. People pursue scientific discoveries because they're passionate about them. Someone wants to solve, the cure for cancer. Someone wants to solve. I mean, a girl did the recent Ebola test that doesn't require refrigeration. It's incredible. These types of discoveries are made by people who are curious and creative, and they're to step out of their comfort zone and go, you know what, I can do this. That is what I hope girls walk away from a Girl Start program thinking.
That is a wonderful message, and I wish you guys the best of luck in those future activities. I know that you've got things that go on all the time, and I really love seeing anyone who tries to get and keep girls interested in science. It's so difficult, and so it doesn't have to be, and it's really wonderful. So thank you very much for joining us here in SLU. And I hope maybe we can check in again in the future.
That'd be great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Live views here at SLU.
So we want to thank our executive producer for that great interview. And in fact, before that, we were visiting an amazing group of kids from the Washington Montessori School in Washington, Connecticut. And before that, we were talking with our SLU astronomer, Will Gator, British astronomer in on the other side of the pond. So look at these live events that are happening from the White House. And the idea here is SLU education and education in science generally. And, we're doing our part. We are an official White House Astronomy Night event. SLU is. And we're introducing all sorts of new things that have to do with education and getting the kids interested in. And we're also introducing SLU Camera. That's coming up in about another month, where SLU members can capture any of our live feeds from around the world and send it to other people, share it with other people, keep it as a screensaver. And, anytime, even if it's just because you like how pretty it is, even if you don't know any science, but just love to see the gorgeousness of it, as in fact we use our live views here of NGC 2516. We look at star clusters like this, and galaxies, and nebulae, and planets. And in fact, we'll, in these final minutes, show you some of our favorite SLU things that our members like to turn to again and again here at SLU. And one of the things that happens like this. Look at this great galaxy. This is the Whirlpool Galaxy. It's actually two galaxies colliding, a little one above it with the catchy name of NGC 5195, pulling material off like wet pizza cheese, hot pizza cheese, slurping it away from the main galaxy. It's a galaxy that looks very much like ours, a spiral galaxy. We had the students from the school that we were visiting earlier, and that was live as well, talking about the nearest galaxy, and they showed this image of our own Milky Way. That's that vertical line on the right side in near collision with the Andromeda Galaxy, which we can all look forward to. We'll mark that on our calendars coming up in just 4 billion years. And now here's a SLU image of just a piece of Andromeda. The galaxy is so darn huge in the sky that no ordinary telescope can even capture the whole galaxy. We have to look at a little section at a time. So that's what we're viewing here, a SLU image of just a little piece of Andromeda, our sister galaxy. And before that, those students at the Washington Montessori School showed us their project. The first project they were involved with is a star that has exploded, lost only maybe 1% of its mass in what's called a planetary nebula. They explained when it was discovered, 1764, by who, Charles Messier, that it's one of the very largest of the planetary nebulae. And you know what? They called it back then a planetary nebula because it looked a little like the planet Uranus, which William Herschel discovered in 1781. In other words, it's round, it's green, looked like those newly formed found planets, Uranus, and then later Neptune in 1846. But they have nothing to do with planets. It's a really bad name calling it a planetary nebula. Instead, look at that little tiny star inside. That's our fate too, as the kids explained. Wonderful presentation that our own sun is going to turn into just what you see in front of you, a small white dwarf star surrounded by an expanding shell of glowing greenish gas. Imagine that in the future, looking up into space and seeing that. Here's another live view that we're getting from one of our feed partners in South Africa that we're thankful for. It's raining on the Canary Islands, kind of rare because our main telescope, in Chile as well. So our SLU telescopes are not giving us live feeds, but we've got these great partners. And this live feed is bringing us the Tarantula Nebula. This is a southern hemisphere object. We never can see this from our telescopes in the United States or Canada. And it's a giant, fascinating nebula. It's much bigger than our own Orion Nebula, which is our brightest and favorite and closest nebula that we see from this neck of the cosmic woods. The Orion Nebula is only 1,500 light years away. This is much farther. If we had the Tarantula Nebula in our sky, it would fill up a big piece of our sky. Fascinating. One of the reasons that astronomy is so captivating And it's an easy sell. We believe here at SLU, it's easy to get kids interested in something that's inherently so grand and beautiful and has a connection, of course, with all the sci-fi stuff that they see in the movies, Star Wars, Star Trek, and not to mention the more realistic, newer movies like Interstellar and Gravity and now The Martian. So it's very big. Astronomy is very big, and we're doing our part. And toward that end, please join us on Wednesday night when we bring you the Orionid meteor shower. This is not one of the big meteor showers, but it's not a minor one either. And the Orionids are special because these are exclusively pieces from Halley's Comet. That's right. The most famous periodic comet of all has pieces that fell off of it, and those pieces are going to smash into Earth, or at least into our atmosphere, Wednesday night. And we'll bring you that with special low light equipment, capturing them as they streak away from the constellation of Orion. So be sure to join us here starting at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. You know, there's always something coming up, and whether it's an eclipse or a meteor shower, a close asteroid or a comet. So here, as we finish up with our White House Astronomy Night, we're bringing that to you live too. And you can see the last part of that as they try to look at the night sky from Washington, D.C. Good luck, right, with all the light pollution. One of the reasons why I think a lot of members become members of SLU is because we've got the telescope set up far away from pollution. So if you live in a big city, it's no problem. Well, thank you to our global network of feed partners. Um, that the show, I just really enjoyed seeing those kids. Very inspirational, and their professional, I'd say, presentations. Yeah, they were really professional on it. So thank you to all of you for doing that. Thank you to Will Gator for being here live and from Great Britain. And we'll see you next time. It's never very long until the next time because the universe always has amazing things happening. For SLU, I'm Bob Berman. Good night.
Fields of diamonds in the sky, worlds of whirling right on by. Are you wondering who am I? Field of diamonds in the sky.
$1 billion to support STEM programs nationwide, including 80 other astronomy nights happening right now all across the country. So tonight I'm proud to announce new commitments by cities and organizations all over the country to expose even more students and their parents to STEM education. Bayer is launching a national effort to help 100,000 American parents and children work on science and engineering projects together. More than 300 foundations, museums, libraries, and schools across the country are partnering to bring hands-on science programming to students who don't have it. 8 observatories in Hawaii will offer all the residents of that state free guided tours. They didn't do that when I was in high school. Wish we had thought that up earlier. But these are just a few examples of the work that's being done all across the country, and I hope that more are going to follow the leads of these outstanding organizations, because that's how we're going to make sure our next generation of explorers take us even farther than we're going today. You know, a few hours ago I got a chance to talk to the astronauts up on the International Space Station, where Scott Kelly is living for an entire year. Last month, NASA found water flowing on Mars. Earlier this year, we mapped Pluto in high resolution. Nearly 1,000 feet into the air and returns to the Earth unbroken in under a minute. They beat hundreds of other teams to take first place in the America and International Rocketry Challenges. We are very proud of you, gentlemen and ladies. Great job. From the time she was young, Phoebe Kinzelman spent nights like tonight on her grandfather's driveway staring at the stars through his telescope. She spent a summer at space camp at NASA's Johnson Space Center, and her dream is to become an astronaut. I think she speaks for many of us when she says that one of her favorite Instagram accounts is Scott Kelly's. Space is a humbling thing, Phoebe says. You can't get too eager to rule the entire universe, but Phoebe's on her way. Where's Phoebe? Stand up, Phoebe, so everybody can give you a big round of applause. And where's Prodnov? Because I was talking about him and I didn't. There you go. Give him a big round of applause. So these are examples of the extraordinary young people that we have here today. Phoebe's given pretty wise advice for a 17-year-old. Young people like Phoebe should encourage all of us to help our young people set their sights as high as they want. We need teachers to light a spark of curiosity in young minds, and we've got some outstanding teachers here today. We need parents to leave encyclopedias of famous scientists lying around the house, or help turn a bedroom into an ideas laboratory. We need to inspire more young people to ask about the stars and begin that lifetime quest to become the next great scientist or inventor or engineer or astronaut. And we have to watch for and cultivate and encourage those glimmers of curiosity and possibility, not suppress them, not squelch them, because not only are the young people's futures at stake, but our own is at stake. That's one of the reasons that my administration's worked so hard to encourage kids to enter STEM fields, especially young women who are too often underrepresented in these fields. We're halfway. We are halfway to my goal of training 100,000 new STEM teachers by the end of the decade. We're on track to connect 99% of our students to high-speed internet before the end of the decade. And over the past 6 years, our Educate to Innovate campaign has raised $1
This live SLU show is brought to you by the support of SLU members and the following sponsors. Visit SLU.com to become a member today.
As eggs, well, at least one egg. In recent years, we've discovered the first Earth-sized planet orbiting a star in a distant galaxy, and we've even slipped the outermost grasp of our solar system with Voyager 1, the first human-made object to venture into interstellar space. In 2017, with the help of American space companies, our astronauts will once again launch to space directly from American soil. And today, NASA is developing the capabilities to send humans to Mars in the 2030s. That means that some of the young people who are here tonight might be working on that project. Some of you might be on your way to Mars. America can do anything. We just got to keep on encouraging every new generation to explore and invent and create and discover. We got to keep encouraging some young kid in Brooklyn or a budding rocket scientist.
Hi,
This is SLU. I'm Bob Berman. We've been listening to the President of the United States because this is White House Astronomy Night. You probably already gathered that, and we're doing our part because SLU is a official White House Astronomy Night